What's going on, guys? I know this is long overdue, but I'm finally giving you guys this studio tour part 2. I'm going to try to go over a little bit of what I do to produce and also a little bit of recording and mixing vocals, just more on a simple level. I'm going to try to tailor it to what we used to do with way back in Familiar with Floss days and Sunroom days and About That Life days. I mix and master and record a little bit differently now because it's a little bit more complicated now, since I've been learning about a lot more new things as I've progressed through the years doing this stuff. But I want to keep it as simple as possible, especially for those of you guys that are starting out and just kind of wanting to get your feet wet in doing any of this stuff. Before I go into that, though, I want to thank everybody that supported Mad Lifey. Packy and I worked on that really hard, and to see you guys support that just means the world to us. If you haven't already gotten it, you can go out on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, pretty much anywhere that you can get music at, and get that. If you haven't already, I strongly recommend that you go and get that. It's an awesome album, and we're both really proud of it. Also, I wanted to make sure everybody knows that Packy and Cyrus have a show together coming up at the Loft in Lansing, Michigan, our hometown. Tickets are only $5 right now. You can get them in the description below. I'll put a link down there. It'll be long sets. We're going to be celebrating Mad Lifey and also Cyrus's project that'll just be coming out around that time. I'll be DJing. It'll be a great time, and I hope that anyone around the surrounding area can come out and support. We really need your guys' support anytime that we have a show, and any effort that you can make to get the tickets and come out will be greatly appreciated. Tickets are just $5 for the first 100 tickets sold. We're getting pretty close to that 100 person mark already, so after that point the tickets go up to about, I think it's $10. Still a really good deal. I hope you even can support if they go up to $10. We really just need anybody that's able to make it out there to come out and enjoy the night with us. Also, I have been pretty busy these last few months. I don't know if any of you guys saw on social media, I recently got engaged, so I've been doing all of that wedding planning stuff and everything while doing Mad Lifey, while helping Cyrus with his new album. It's been really busy for me, so thank you guys for just bearing with me as I try to get this Studio 2 prepared for you. But hopefully this will end up being helpful to you guys. I think what I want to start out with is showing you guys a production file way back when. This is Neon Lights. If we go over here to the screen, we have what I originally started out with on Neon Lights. If you can listen just for a quick second. So, as you can see, that intro wasn't there in the original song. We chose to nix that. We chose to start the song out in a different way. Music making is just a bunch of give and take. If I remember at the time, I really don't even remember, but we were trying to make a type of intro for that song that just didn't end up panning out, so we just cut it all. But the way that I pretty much produce in Logic is very simple, and I mean, I don't know if it's the correct way. I didn't go to school for any of this stuff, but pretty much what Logic has is just a bunch of instruments that you can choose from, and you can go download your own samples of instruments or loops or something like that. That'll help you, and you just pretty much string them together. And you have to have an ear for this stuff. It's not for everybody, and this took me a lot of practice to even learn this. But Neon Lights was one of the first songs that I produced ever. So this is very basic, very simple, and I thought it would be cool for you guys to see where I came from and how I progressed to the beats that I'm making today. It just pretty much starts out with an idea, and you just build based off of that. So if I remember right, I think the first thing that I did was these strings right here. And that just built from there to, you know, now you hear the strings in the original thing, which most of you guys will recognize this part. So you can definitely hear the strings in the background there, but it's not the part that's the main part or anything, but that's just what I started out with, and it just builds. And Logic I prefer Logic just because it has a lot of cool sounds for production. I don't feel like I'm really limited at all on what I do in Logic. It just really comes easy to me because I started on GarageBand. The only difference really is Logic just gives you a bunch more tools than GarageBand does to produce your music. And then other than that, you just play around with the different effects and everything like that to get it to sound just the way you want it. I don't really want to go into how I play around with effects as far as production wise, just because I really don't believe that there's a correct way to do it. It's pretty much you sitting down, spending hours upon hours, figuring out what sounds good to you. And ultimately, that's all that really matters. If you're true to yourself and you honestly think that that sounds like good music, just run with it. And if you don't think it sounds good, keep at it. Don't settle for something that's just good enough. So that's pretty much how I started out doing all of this stuff. And you just build, and you build until you're happy with it. I mean, there were a bunch of drafts to Neon Lights. I think we changed it something like 30 some times before we were happy with the final result. And how it works is Packy goes and writes to this stuff. We come back with new beat ideas. We drop out certain things and everything like that. And because we had a very slow computer at the time that we were making these beats, I would bounce the beat down and we would load it into a new project. I think this is a good time to show you, this is how we used to do things. Now, because we have a more powerful computer, we load both the beat and the vocals all into one session, which makes things a lot easier. But it also is a lot easier when you just bounce different sections down to really visualize and see what you're working with. And I think a lot of you guys will be more comfortable with the way that this looks, the way that we used to do things. So let me just show you. So once we had the beat already done, we were happy with everything, how it fit with Packy's vocals that he had written and not recorded at this point. We would bounce this beat down and we would go and load it into a new vocal session. So let me show you the vocal session real quick. Okay, so this is the Neon Lights vocal session. As you can see, the Neon Lights track just got bounced down to one track called Track. And we just loaded it right above all of Packy's vocals right in here. I'll play it for you just so that you can see. Okay, and then we just recorded vocals over it. So all of these tracks here are Packy's vocals that he used to record the song. So let me just solo these out for you here.
Lights, camera, action, gone tell me when to go. This is our year, boy, if you didn't know. I hop in the whip and go, rolling down a winner though. City full of hopefuls, looking for a winner though. Guess it's L-Town, cause to win in it is difficult.
Okay, so those are his vocals at that point. They have some effects on them already right now, and I'm going to go over those now. And pay attention because this one is the most important to me. This CLA vocals by Waves is the number one thing that I use for anybody recording vocals with me. This makes it so much easier for me to get a crisp, clean vocal to start out with. Here's why. Most of the tutorials that I've found out there, and trust me, I've watched a lot of them about how to mix vocals, tell you to take out some of the low end to make sure that the vocals stand out in the mix and everything like that. And then, raise the compression and make sure all the S's are DS. This really is a great starting point to minimize the confusion of working with the equalizer. This helps me see all of the important spots that you're supposed to be focusing on the vocal, which is the bass, the low end, the treble, the compression, the reverb, the delay, and the pitch. So, but when I'm first editing the mix, I am not using any of the delay or pitch on this. All that I am using is a little bit of the bass, a little bit of the treble, a lot of the compression, actually a lot of the treble and a lot of the compression, and then a little bit of the reverb as well. And this really helps me to just get a baseline that Packy feels comfortable, that his vocal is sounding good, and allows him to get in the booth and deliver a great vocal performance. After he's done recording and everything like that, I go through and I tweak these a lot, and I even pull out the equalizer after this point and tweak everything. But this is definitely my starting point when I used to record vocals. This isn't how I really do things anymore. I do still use this plugin for at first, but it really isn't the center of my mixing. Back in the About That Life days and Familiar with Floss days, this was the backbone of our vocal recording, and you can kind of hear it in Packy's voice. But yes, definitely get yourself CLA vocals if you're looking to record vocals in Logic. The de-esser, this is good. You don't want those strong S sounds in your recording and the sounds. The pop filter helps get those out on the mic. This helps really zero it down to nothing. There's no perfect setting for this. Each room is different in the way that it displays vocals, so you'll just need to play around with it to see what your setting is. But this is a good plugin to for a de-esser, and that's also by the way as well. I used to use this built-in exciter on Packy's voice in Logic just because we were using a USB mic that really was kind of dull, and I wanted to bring out Packy's vocals a little bit more in the mix, and this seemed to help do that. I used it on pretty much all of his tracks back in the day. Since upgrading to a better mic that isn't USB, I don't see the need for it anymore, so I don't really use it. But I did use this all the time back in the day. And then last but not least is the noise gate. This isn't really necessary as far as for mixing purposes. I put this on when Packy's in the booth to not have background noise distract him so much in gaps where he's not talking. So it just is blank noise as soon as it reaches a certain decibel of noise in his mic. It's not really important to have it on, but I just like it. It seems to give me a little bit more clear recordings when I have it. Again, there's no perfect setting for this. It really depends on your room and how much noise you're dealing with, but go ahead and play around with it. I do recommend it. It just helps when you're engineering certain sessions for the vocalist to not get too distracted by background noise, whatever's happening in the background. I think that's it as far as that goes. What happens afterwards when Packy records is he'll record normally 2 tracks to punch in at one time. For example, you know, he'll do this end part.
Guess it's L-Town, cause to win in it is difficult. But I'm not your typical, I am the reciprocal.
See, that all wasn't done in one take. That was done just for the sake of him running out of breath. Punching in, creating multiple tracks. It's all pretty basic stuff. Pretty much everybody does it. And then you do, normally Packy does 1 or 2 background ad-lib tracks that are pretty much just focusing on certain rhyme emphasis words or like certain ad-lib talk in the vocals, such as this.
But I'm not your typical, I am the reciprocal. Iller than the realest spitter, really, every syllable. Everything I say is real, some of it is literal. Most of you are fake, so my circle's at a minute.
So you could kind of hear him emphasize all the rhyming words in it. It just really helps for the vocal to stand out in the mix and really have some emphasis on that. I think that's pretty standard for any rapper as well to do in there. But other than that, it's pretty much just after Packy's done in the booth recording, I step in and I pretty much go through, add multiple effects afterwards. You're not seeing all the effects that I ended up with in the final mix because I really do believe that there's no correct answer for that. I feel like every producer or engineer or whatever you want to call yourself should figure out what works best for them as far as effects go, and then really create a stamp for your sound. I've found that I do have plugins that really help me out as far as producing the sound that I want Packy and Cyrus to have, but your effects might be completely different than mine, and I don't want to stray you guys from being creative on your own. So I don't really want to show you guys the effects that I've really found like the past 6 years that have helped me out, just because I feel like they define my sound and I want you guys to define your sound. But pretty much after that point, it's just going through, putting the effects on. Like, for example, there's no mistaking in neon lights on the hook. Packy has a little bit of auto-tune on his voice.
From a dream to the real thing, I see my name in the neon lights. Living life in the fast lane. They say I changed, but I'll be alright.
And obviously I tuned that a little bit more in the finished product to not make it sound so auto-tuney or whatever, but it was necessary in the track, and we added it, we fine-tuned it, we made it sound the way that we wanted to. This is mainly the first take. This is very raw, nothing on these tracks except for maybe a little bit of reverb, but that's pretty much it. Reverb and compression and taking out low end. That's pretty much it. And then the rest is up to you, how you want to shape it, how you want to do things. There's no set rules, there's no anything these days. It's just pretty much how you want it to sound. But other than that, I mean, just play around with it. Let me know what you guys think. I want to know any questions that you guys have. I'm toying with possibly doing a part 3 if you guys have really any questions about anything. Maybe I'll even start doing live streams at different times, just answering your guys' audio questions about different things on how to do whatever. I'm not really sure what kind of questions you guys have, but if you want to let me know in the comments, that'd be great. But other than that, I hope this helped out a little bit. I know I wasn't really super specific, but I do feel like everybody that is interested in doing this should create their own style. And it just comes with hours upon hours of playing around with Logic and doing, pretty much finding out what it can do. I don't know half of what this thing can do yet, and I've been toying with it for 7 years now. So let me know. I'm happy to answer any questions, and maybe I'll do another video in the future. But good luck, guys. Thanks.